easy because what Jeff just said about intentional legacy is like he doesn't understand all the components. That's not the first time I've heard that. But I just, real basic, we're intentional legacy. What we focus on is the people side of business. Career, people programs, people, business. So let's go together. Where? Woodstock and beyond. When? I started this in 2013. Jordan joined in 2019, and Katie joined in 2020. And they're going to tell you a little bit about that. How? Only the Father. And the reason I say this as far as Yahweh is our how is because in years when I wasn't walking with the Father, I was in corporate, and I was building my own empire, my own kingdom. But in that, the Father was using every experience that I had to prepare me for what He had spoken into my life. But if I'd known that, would I have continued? I don't know. But anyway, so the first time for coaching is kind of a cool word now. 30 years ago, when my boss first said, I want you to go get certified to be a coach, I honestly thought it was about the softball team. I did not know it had anything to do with business. And I'm like, they're pretty awesome. Why do we need to do that? But that was, and that's the Father. That was completely and totally the Father setting that trajectory. And the amount of money that the Father used corporations to invest in me and the certifications and training that I've had is basically ridiculous. And so some assessments and trainings that I've gone through are $100,000 to go and do it yourself. So, but they just wrote the check, so I was like, okay. And I used to go to fun places. And then the why behind what we do is this absolute core belief that Yahweh created every single person with a unique purpose, did it on purpose. Every one of us reflect His image, and we're supposed to walk that out. And it says in the Word to train up a child in the way he should go. It doesn't say they, it says he. Because every single person is so incredibly unique. When I was younger, this was not my world. I'm not going to tell my life story, but pretty much I grew up without family, and so there wasn't anyone saying, like, this is what you're good at. There was no one speaking truth. It was literally, how hard can I work to get out of high school early? What can I do to play sports in every arena that I can possibly be so I didn't have to be at home? Like, just different things like that, but there was no one going, this is what your purpose is. And what's sad is how many people here know someone who really doesn't like their job? Okay? How many people here have ever worked in a job that you really didn't like? Okay? Why? Why is that? Why are we have all of these resources, we have all this insight, why are we not, especially as believers, living out the purpose? We've been given breath. Every day we wake up and we have breath. Why are we not living that to worship the Father in work? And a passion of mine, and I work with a lot of students, which I'll get into in just a minute, but work, a lot of kids hate work because what have they heard in their family? So hard. I have to go to work, it's hard, I don't like this person, they're idiots. You know, like all of those words, correct? Work was created before sin entered the world. Thus, it is good. And you guys all know when you work doing what you love, time flies by. You forget to eat, you might forget to go to the bathroom, you forget the time. It just is amazing. And that's my passion for letting people see that. Because of what I got to do in corporate in a lot of really cool industries, I also was able to do a lot of people programs, designing retention programs, hiring programs, redesigning organizations when there were shifts, getting the right people in the right seat at the right time, that type of stuff. So it's all around people and it's all around business. So that's the who, what, where, when. So now, here's our mission statement, and I'm going to plug everything into it, like all of our services into it, and maybe that will make it all make sense. Maybe not. Okay, so our passion is to honor Yahweh by helping people. So people can be, maybe sure it's a dry erase marker. Anyone ever do that with a regular marker? I did that at a very expensive conference room of a framing company. First day in the conference room. Couldn't even deny that I did it. I'm amazing. Okay, so people, so we just do one person or students? Okay, the reasons for students is because how many people go into college or career or whatever they go into and have no clue what they're doing? How many people, what's the average for changing majors in college?
3.
Okay, 3?
Throw that out.
Oh, you're throwing that out there. It's actually higher. And how many people go undeclared? How many people waste time and money in college because they have no purpose?
100%.
Okay. Yay! Okay, so that's why students. How many adults have to have course corrections because their entire industry went away? How many moms go back to work? How many people retire and go, wow, I don't have an identity anymore? Because my identity was in my corporate position or my professional athlete or whatever. That was the one thing that God used many times over is I got to coach some of the older Falcons players. So Billy White Shoes Johnson, he came to me and he was in charge of players, like who were leaving, like going, and he goes, the depression rate, I can't deal with it. They don't know who they are besides football. Well, what's sad is the father didn't stamp on it and go, you're just a football player. He gave them other skills. They need to know what those are. So, adults, okay, and students. Okay, organizations. This is small businesses, corporations. I have had the joy of working with very big companies. My past includes digital and McKesson and things like that. I also work for Dale Carnegie and Franklin Covey, so those were other companies. So, organizations, small business, corporations, different ministries. If your ministry is not organized in the right way with the resources, which are your most important, most valuable resource is your people, know who they are and where they belong. You don't just go and put a muffler on the top of your engine. I don't actually, you might, I don't know. I think the muffler's in the back. Just go with that, okay? You don't do that. You put the right people in the right role. And so you don't hire because they're your best friend. You hire someone because they have the competencies to come and do what needs to be done because the Father's given each of your businesses a a mission. And you gotta go do it. But you need to make sure you're paying attention to those resources. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, so we help people and organizations. So now I'm just gonna walk my little list down here. We have lots of people over here. Smiling, they're all happy because they all are doing what they want to do. Okay, so then we help them discover. So the discovery part is where we use assessments. And yes, I'm an assessment snob because I think some assessments are invalid and some assessments are incredible, like as far as the results that they send back to us. We use conversations. We use connections with other people. And we use internships, specifically with students. So this is ways that we help other people discover what they are created to do and what they're designed to do. How many of you here have multiple children? How many of them are cookie cutter? Exactly carbon copies of each other. Great. How many of them are exactly carbon copies of you? Okay, so how are you going to help them discover you don't even know about yourself, and you can't know about them because you're not them? So there's ways to do this, and there's fabulous ones, and I'm going to actually just show you a couple things real quick. Okay, good. Thank you. So we do a process called intentional fingerprint because the Father put fingerprints on your life, and He made them different. He didn't have to make our fingerprints different, but He did. Why? Because He's Him, and He can do whatever He wants. He's amazing. So some of the assessments that we use, I'm going to use Jordan's. This is called a flag page. What's really cool about the flag page, it's a Christian organization, and they have no idea how much money they've made through corporations, like secular corporations. I've done, probably will say hundreds and hundreds of these over this assessment specifically, 25 years, and guess what? Not one person has ever been the same. How cool is that? In a culture we're trying to look like everybody else. No one's been the same. This one identifies your motivators, what makes you go do what you do, how you look at the world. Imagine, I'm going to pick on you guys, all right? Imagine if David knew Candace's motivators, like why she reacts to certain things. Imagine if Candace knew David's. So it's not necessarily about the topic, it's a motivation issue, and motivation is what springs from within. This is stuff we get to tell kids. I think it was Katie Joy, you were there for one of our debriefs for a whole class. One of the kids literally is like, this is me in paper. Like she literally had voice to talk about who she was. It was really incredible. So this is one of our assessments. We do a 360. Does anyone know what a 360 is? Okay, a 360 is, say that Jeff is here. We go and we get feedback from all the people around Jeff to give him a perspective. And we take all that data and we comb through it, and trust me, it's pages. And then it's based on competencies, and then we take that and we look through for the thread. So, obviously his wife's gonna say, he's a superstar, but maybe someone who's working next to him will go, well, maybe have you thought about this? You know what I'm saying? So we have to look through all of that data. Those are the assessments we get to do, and this is actually a student that we did a couple years ago. And what's beautiful about this student is this student had just lost her father. Mm-hmm. And now this student knows these are the words. So the enemy's speaking words about who you are. She can come back to this and she can see this. It's an incredible, incredible tool. But it's a way for us to say, here's another perspective of who you are as a person. That's amazing. And then we have this other huge assessment. Thank you, Jordan, for reading all those. And this one is also, how many people have heard of Crown Financial Ministries? Larry Burkett. That's the assessment I use in corporate, and it's amazing, and with the students. And it talks about your environments, what you love to do, what kind of leadership you thrive in, your personality, your sub-factors, your interests, values. Did I say values already? Work values, life values. It all is in there, and it's such a great tool for all the noise that comes at us through social media and everything else. Okay, so that's the discover. And then we help people, oh wait a minute, I was supposed to draw something here. This is a little magnifying glass. There's his little body. There you go.
We can definitely tell that's magnifying glass.
100%.
Thank you. But my two encouragers. Courtney's like, no. Magnifying glass. Okay, and then the next step, it's great to know who you are and how the Father's created you, but what if you do nothing with it? Well, then you wasted it. So that's where we do our little, I don't actually know if I can draw a running dude. Can anyone do that running dude dance? Okay, is that okay? Okay, that's pursuing. So how do we help people pursue? This is where we go into coaching, because coaching is always a motion from where you are forward. We do consulting. And then we do, it's called OD and OE, and I know acronyms are not the best thing, but OD is organizational design, so designing the organization, and then organizational effectiveness is designing the people side of your organization to be effective. So that's the world that I lived in a lot in corporate, and still very passionate about that, and helping people like small businesses when they're trying to grow. Like, to have an honest conversation, all right, this is who you are. You need to be partnering with somebody who's not like you, and you're gonna probably have some tension in there, but you're just learning how to walk through and be proactive for all of that. And then, in this little world that we live in, okay, sad when you have to rethink what you're, so this is a little, name that a friend gave me in the 90s, and it's called entrepreneurs. There's a lot of people who talk about entrepreneurship, but they don't actually get up and do it. So, what entrepreneurs is, it has two parts. One is a place where we engage other people and equip them and encourage them. Because sometimes, how many of you are sole entrepreneurs? Anyone? It can get lonely sometimes. And sometimes you're your only sounding board and it sounds like a basketball like this in your head all the time. Okay, so this is a way for entrepreneurs to get together and have another type of environment. Because I was super blessed in corporate that I had amazing teams that I got to work with. And you miss that when you're out on your own sometimes. Small businesses, if you have a staff that's working with you, who are you going to as your sounding board and your advisor? It can't always be your people that work for you. So you gotta find that group. So that's what entrepreneurs is, but there's another part of that, and that's entrepreneur services. And then it's admin support and social media support. So we have a couple of people who are starting their own businesses. They need admin support, they're not in place to afford that yet. So we offer that to them as a service. Very affordable for them. Social, that's supposed to be social media, not social support. We're trying to help you. Sorry. Social media support, it's kind of a joke in our little family and business, is that I didn't have a website or business cards until my daughters joined it. Yeah, we'll figure this out as we go. You know, and so that wasn't my thing. I didn't want to really go do that. So I did it for a long time. Probably would it have helped? Probably, but you'll notice that I'm designed very differently than a lot of entrepreneurs who are very detailed. I am not one of those humans. And then in the pursuing, we also do facilitations for like conflict resolution, succession planning, discussions that can be pretty heated, all kinds of different things like that. Did I forget anything, you guys? I'm not. Okay. And so this is what intentional legacy is. So I'm going to have both Jordan and Katie Joy come up, and they're going to kind of explain their story.
All right, Jordan.
Or Jordan.
Okay, I have like 3 minutes, she said, to explain how I joined Intentional Legacy and what I do. Long story short, I was living in Haiti for 3 years. I didn't finish college. I went to Haiti instead. And I thought I was going to do that for the rest of my life. It's what I love to do. And then randomly one day, I heard this little voice. I heard God tell me, your time here is coming to an end. I was like, what? So I moved back here, and I had no idea what I liked to do, didn't have a college degree, didn't know what I was passionate about. I just had no idea. And so she felt like she was supposed to ask me, like, would you want to work with Intentional Legacy? Like, pray about it. And I was like, okay, I'll pray about it. And I heard, like, yeah. And so I did it, and I kind of just did it because I think it was right in front of me. I was like, this would be fun. I didn't really even know what Intentional Legacy was. I had to learn all of this. I didn't know what OD and OE was. I had no idea. But in the process of starting to work with her, I started going to all of her debriefs with her, where she would go to the schools and talk with the students. I was going to follow her and learn. And I understood and saw the value of the students, like the light bulb going off in their head, and then seeing for the first time, this is how I'm created, this is how I'm wired. And so I became really quickly passionate and saw the value of specifically the student coaching side of it. That's the part that I really love. And then while starting to work for Intentional Legacy, I was going through the program at the same time, and through the assessments, she helped me realize that I actually love doing admin work. I love data. I had no idea. I thought I was only a people person. I love data, like spreadsheets, I love Excel. And so I started doing admin work for Intentional Legacy, all the back office stuff, and I realized I loved that. I had no idea I was passionate about that. I didn't know that that's how my brain worked. So it's just funny because I don't think any of us, she probably knew from the beginning. Knowing her, she probably knew. So that's what I do for Intentional Legacy. I do the admin side of Intentional Legacy. I'm also learning to do coaching with the students. And then I also help for entrepreneurs, I offer admin support for other entrepreneurs. So I needed to discover who I was first, my unique purpose, even as after college, 23-ish years old. And I had to discover how I was uniquely wired in order to pursue my unique purpose, which I now do in Intentional Legacy through admin work. So that's my little story.
So mine is probably a little different. I went to college and then went and worked at a camp up in LJ. And in all of in my work experience, not that it was like super extensive at this point, but I realized that I really loved helping people overcome these obstacles to reach their potential. which is exactly what this is. So I knew that I had already discovered what I love to do, and I love helping people. I was just super stubborn and was not willing to pursue it in the right ways. And so I remember my mom in high school telling me like, you know, I think you can do what I do. And I'm like, there is no way. I'm gonna do my own thing. I don't want to follow in your footsteps, whatever. And so my time at camp was coming to an end. I knew God had said, hey, it's time to kind of leave. And I was like, what's next? And then I felt like he was saying intentional legacy. And I was like, no, that's not it. I literally, y'all, I had a dream that I was swallowed by a whale. But I'm like, I'm not Jonah. I'm not running. Literally swallowed by a whale in my dream. And then COVID came, and I think COVID was the whale because I couldn't go get a job anywhere else. I couldn't escape into anything else. And just through COVID, there was a lot of things that I had to work through and wrestle through, and a lot of conviction of where I was running and not willing to submit. And so October 2020 is when I moved back home and started working for Intentional Legacy. And it was like as soon, working for Intentional Legacy was like the worst thing in my mind because, you know, I wanted to do my own thing. But as soon as that mentality switch of, okay, no, I think this is what God is telling me to do and I'm going to do it, it was like it made sense that everything I was passionate about and helping people overcome obstacles was exactly what our mission statement is, and it was there in front of me the entire time. And so I, like Jordan, we're both kind of learning how to do the coaching, especially with students, and I am so excited to be able to do that. I love working with students. But I also help with the social media technology aspect of it. I'm not the expert, but I think I have a little bit more patience than they do to sit there and figure it out. So, and so I help with the entrepreneur services there as well. So that's it. It's just, I think both of us are here. We are here because this is where God has called us, and it's really cool to see. And if y'all do our story too, there's just a lot of restoration and redemption in that. And it's really cool to see what He's doing and how He's using this, not only as our mission field, but He's used this in my life to restore and redeem things that I never thought could be restored and redeemed. So it's just, I'm really grateful, and it's really cool to see what He's doing.
So our story is not, I did forget something here. Because of the 30 years of experience, I created a coaching certification, and that's what both the girls are going through. So it's all the stuff that's up here. Y'all, there's some, yeah, whatever. Okay, do it earlier, that's what I'm gonna say. Just do it before, get all that stuff out of your head and document it as much as you can. So both of the girls are going through that certification, and it's been fun to watch the Father's unique purpose and design in their lives, and how they're living that out. And just really briefly about our story, we have been through a journey that could be a book in many, many places, and we're not finished with that book yet. But I met Katie Joy and Jordan 8 and 9, we were 8 and 9-ish. Okay, I actually married their dad. And last October, through some amazing things, the Father allowed me to legally adopt them. And so just realizing through here, the intentional legacy the Father is working is so much bigger than career and business. Yes, I love that. I love strategy. I love all of that. But what I have watched the Father do through intentional legacy is amazing. The cool thing about it is you haven't heard me say nonprofit here, but Jeff said that. I was in for-profit, in corporate, and then for a consulting business for a long time. And the Father told me through an experience that I had at McKesson, a man came in my office, completely shaking, completely emotional. And he's like, I hate my life, and that's when all your alarms go off. And I'm probably not the most warm and fuzzy human being at first. I often, unfortunately, use a joke when I really shouldn't. I should just have compassion. But I was just like looking at him, I'm like, okay, shut the door, let's just start talking through this. And I asked, why do you hate your life? And he's like, I hate hate my job. This is a man who's probably early 60s. He has patents, like he's brilliant. He has patents on medical technology. And I said, okay, so what did you want to be? And he goes, I wanted to be a carpenter. And I said, why didn't you become a carpenter? And he said, because my parents said money was in computers. And I just kind of, this is where I get my snarky attitude. Sometimes I'm like, did you let your parents pick your favorite color? And he said, no. And then you sit there and you're like, well, why do you think but what's sad is I'm watching kids shrivel up and die because their parents are making them do something. Or people are going to work every day hating what they do and they bring it home to their family. The cool thing, and another thing with this man, he was on, his third marriage was ending. He was estranged from 2 sets of kids from the first marriage. Because he hated his job. And he came, and we just started talking financial handcuffs, obviously, because of all of those decisions. Health was impacted. And so we took some money out of a stock thing that he had, and we built a little wood shop in his backyard. And so he couldn't leave his big paying job. He had to do this slowly. His first gift that he made was a bassinet for his first grandchild. And he wasn't even allowed to go to his daughter's wedding. And that was the restoration that started with him. Guys, that's key. He hated his job. Think about that. It could have just been a simple conversation. Why are we not all doing this? And so that's what led me to the nonprofit side. And then because the father is way smarter than I am, I had to come up with a tagline in like 30 seconds when I was doing the nonprofit, and it was this. Well, because this is my tagline, the father has let us pay for a private adoption. He's let us take houses out of foreclosure. He has let us send people to mission fields. He has let us do so many things because we're helping people pursue their intentional purpose, whatever it is. So the Father, in all of his kindness, already was way ahead of that. So we have this whole intentional giving side that we just try to do as much anonymous giving as we can, and then a family can come to us and say, or somebody can come to us and say, hey, I have a family who's going through this. We want to collect money. The money goes in and it goes out. We got to help Circle of Friends start. We got to help Duet Project. We got to help, who's the other one? We have 2 that are coming up. Oh, Fatherless. And the reason is because we're a 501c3. So we can use who we are to just be a funnel to other people. Isn't that cool? So there's so many things that we get to do because he is so much great. He's just amazing, and he's so cool because things that you would think you'd spend logic and time designing, he just, if you're willing to listen, just go do what he tells you to do, and it's amazing. So that's what I got, and then you guys have to come up too. Questions, whatever questions you have. Ask them the questions. This is gonna be fun.
I didn't know that was going to be part of the Q&A.
Oh, do you hear her? Unless they don't have any questions. Guess who doesn't want questions? Questions? Yes.
What are some of the biggest challenges of working together?
Pretty much.
I would say
Okay, good.
I don't think we realized until we started working together how different we are. We are like, I'm way over here, Katie Joy's way over there, my mom's right in the middle.
This is me.
And so when we have to like work together, sometimes she'll give us tasks. She's like, okay, you 2 try to figure this out, and it's like,
We just
Be
butt
different.
heads. So it is hard to work with people that are very different than you, but it's important to know their motivators so that you can, it's okay that everyone's different. That's not bad, you don't have to pretend, but know their motivators to help you kind of get through it.
and there's a reason we're different. I mean,
Yes.
I mean, that's what he talks about with the body, right? Like, we all have something different to add. So the fact that we are so different, I think, allows us to see different perspectives and achieve something that we never could have achieved if I was just doing it on my own. You know?
I do want to say something. I think a lot of people assume that because we're a family and we work together that we probably, like, that's probably a negative thing, like we get sick of each other all the time. I was reading an Acts a few weeks ago, and it was talking about like the church, how they, you know, they gather daily, they break bread together, they pray together, they were doing life together, and I was reading it and I was like, I love that. I just wish our community did that more. I wish that That's kind of how we lived here in America. And the Father was like, you get to do that. Literally, in your home, we live together, we work together, we're going through family trials together. We are doing acts right now as believers.
And we eat bread every day, pretty much.
We definitely are. So it's actually, like, my mind has kind of switched. Like, it's actually a blessing that we get to work together and do life together.
Other
Say
questions?
nothing there.
She may not feel like that.
For Elizabeth,
Yes.
this is, you talk about listening and have that conversation with God, and kind of talk about other people have that gift and whatnot. But most of us don't have that gift where we can just hear and talk and have a conversation. When did you realize you had that ability to hear, or the willingness to hear, whatever it is, and then how do you tell people, others, to move towards that ability to hear?
I think there's two things that pop in my head. When the first time I heard the Father speak to me, I was literally, everything in my world had been taken away. Everything. Like, just one crazy situation after another. Was the first time. And then I believe that the more you spend time in His Word, the more you can recognize His voice. I am not at all gifted musically, and y'all can just be quiet. Including like hearing. You know when some people can do name that tune and it can go like 2 bars? I don't even know, first of all, song's playing. I don't know if it's a guy or a girl. I don't know if it's a group. I know nothing. It doesn't register in my head. But what's cool is if I hear a song over and over, eventually, I'm really slow on that, eventually I will recognize what that song is. I'll probably make up my own words. But other than that, I'll recognize the song. I believe the same is true with the Father, that the more you are saturated in His Word, it is amazing how many times just a phrase of a verse will come right in a moment, like right when I'm praying, a phrase will come in, and His truth is so real. And then I just believe it grows into more personal relationship. But I adamantly would say, in the Word, the Father at one season told me to not read anything but His Word for a year. And whoa, just whoa. Transformational. Because there's a lot of things I've heard preached, a lot of other people's opinions, a lot of songs, and then I start reading the Word and I'm like, wow, that's actually not even close to true. So getting into the Word is what I would say to every single, don't listen to someone else. Don't let someone else have a relationship with the Father and then tell you what He said. You go right here. He made you. Read His Word. That's what I would say. But sometimes He has to bring you to your face. He did me. He had to bring me to the point where it wasn't about my little kingdom. It wasn't about what I could produce. It was face down. Yeah. Yes, sir?
I'm sure it would be a long story, but if you could encapsulate it really, in a short summary, what is your biggest or proudest success story? Someone that you took from absolute zero to hero, or the client that you're most happy to have worked with? I'm sure it's a long story.
You got
Might be
client
hard
presence.
I think there's so many, and there's so many different stories, but in all honesty, I'm gonna, these two. Like, to be able to take kids who didn't know what real truthful love and family was, that's what I would have to say would be. You guys didn't? Any other ideas? All right, I'll do a business one. I was just gonna say Wyatt. Okay, so last year, CCS, Cherokee Christian School, they had a child who was, a student who's graduating, who scored in the top 25,000 of America in the SAT. The guy, brilliant. I really was always afraid to meet with him. I was gonna be like, either I'm gonna make stuff up or I'm gonna be, I don't know. But one of the things, he loved math and science. And he said to me, I don't know which direction I want to go. These are my two. And I said, well, what about actuarial science? And he goes, what's that? And I go, well, it combines them, but I don't really know, but I know someone who does it. But that was kind of, and this is a friend of mine from 30 years ago. We were on a sports team together. And I just, like, through friends, found his contact information. I'm like, hey, Alan, would you be willing to talk to this student? Well, what's incredible, I haven't seen this person, Alan. I did not know he was the senior vice president of Humana. That worked out well. But he sat down with Wyatt and his parents, said, all right, you can go to any college, we know that. This is the college that makes the most sense for you. You don't actually have to do an actuarial degree, you can do this, this, and this. Then that allows you to go this way or this way. Like, y'all, I am not that smart. Like, I cannot do. But to watch this kid just open up with this senior executive who I still think of him as a sweaty baseball player. You know, I don't think of him in a suit or anything. But to see them working together and helping, and Wyatt has opportunities for internships, he has opportunities for a job, he has a great mentor, he has someone well connected. What did that take? How much effort did that take? But how much peace did that give his parents? His mom, first time I ever met her, she literally just engulfed me with a hug. I was like, well, who are you? I don't know your name, I don't know your name. But it was cool to watch that. So I think Wyatt is a great student story. I've had many people in tears. It's kind of a joke with us, is how many I hate yous I get a day. Because when you're having how many I hate yous, like you ask a tough question and they're just like, I hate you. But I mean, so that like there was something stuck in their heart, and those are actually really fun. And I'm watching some stories unfold right now of some I hate yous, and so yeah. I like the I hate yous. Because I know really that's an I love you just in disguise.
Right.
That's my own little world. Yeah, that's what I tell myself. Any other? Yes, sir?
Yeah, I'll do two actually, practical. So if I was a business that needed some help with social support, social media support, is that something that intentionally could help with? And then the other, I'm going to ask you to, if I'm assuming right, do I assume that where most people miss it is they're trying to meet the expectations of others?
Oh, my word.
Is that the real deal out there? Why?
I think by far the number one reason people are unhappy is they are trying to meet someone else's expectations or their own based on the world. Like, this is success. This is what I should do. I should make this much money. I should do this. I should do that. And you guys, I'm not like outside of that. The other day I looked at something on LinkedIn and a job that I easily could walk into. It's a $250,000 base. I'm like, okay, no, don't look. You know, and you have to exit out of that. Who am I listening to? Am I going to obey the Father, or am I going to obey something that's more comfortable? And I'm just trusting that the Father will guide in that. But I would say, what other people say, students, biggest thing, if you have children who are pursuing something, pay attention to how the Father who created them, the Father who gave them to you, the Father who said, they're mine, not yours, how did He design them? Don't make it about you. Like, that's just sick. Just don't do that. Then, don't try to keep up with the world. It's just heartbreaking, you guys. It's heartbreaking what people do to their lives. It's just, oh, it hurts me. I mean, you guys all know the days you had to like, bribe yourself to get out of bed to go to work. How many of you? I think, Bill, you said you ate lunch in your car just to regroup.
Just to get out of the building away from people.
Okay, and that's so heartbreaking to me. Because the reason for that is the Father's gifted you with an incredible presence so that you can be ministering to other people. But if you're so beaten down, you have to go to your car to eat lunch, that means you can't minister to these people. Well, the enemy won in that. He didn't win big time. We know that. So that's my heartbeat. Like, our work is our worship. Our work is our way to fight the enemy. Our work is a way to make a difference and shine a light for the kingdom. And I can tell you what the Father's allowed me to do in corporate, which is hysterical. With one of my clients, he's like, someone said something, and they're like, oh, wait, we can't say that. And someone said, why? They're like, well, Elizabeth's in the room, and she's bringing the God card. I'm like, yes! I'll do that. So that's what we should all be doing.
I have a quick question. Well, I don't know if it's quick. So I I am like you, forest, and I understand you have supportive trees, people who see the leaves on the trees and all of that stuff. But taking it from the assessments, and, okay, this is the ethereal self, you know,
Right.
what you can do, what you're motivated to do. And so it's not a lack of knowledge of all of this stuff, but taking this and then taking it and plugging it into a day. Do you all do
That's
that?
that comes over here in the coaching,
Okay.
is where you're helping people, because the term coaching is from coaches, like heritage coaches, you know, getting from point A to point B. Is you're helping people do that and breaking that down. And sometimes it's just having another human being who's not emotionally attached to what you are doing. Like someone who's willing to take the time to know you, but understand, I don't know real estate. Y'all, I bought my house because I had a dream that the house was yellow. Okay? We're just gonna go there. Like that's my house. Yo, realtors! I'm so sorry. So there you go. Well, yes, we do that through coaching. I know. We're done.
We're just stood up.
We're out of here. Bye. But if you guys have